Africa50, our mission is really to accelerate the investment in infrastructure by crowding private capital. And to do so, we are doing two things: developing project, but also investing in late-stage investment project. Our main focus is energy and transportation. When we say transportation, it's road, rail, airports, and all the things around. So in energy, what we are doing, basically is investing a lot into the generation. So thermic power plant, gas, diesel, but also renewable energy, solar plant and hydropower in different countries like Cameroon and Madagascar. But at the same time, generation is something that people know now how to do. So, and we invest also in the transmission part, making sure that we bring electricity where the consumption is. Because right now, if you talk about renewable, basically renewable have to be produced far from the places where electricity is consumed. So we are investing into transmission PPP, and the PPP scheme to help our countries, solve the issue of public spending that, they are doing right now. This is the electricity part. On the transportation part, we invest into, as I say, infra, roads, and under the PPP scheme, we are also doing what we call asset recycling. Basically, all the asset that has been financed by public money, we come and concession that asset, and in return, we pay the government. So this helps actually accelerate also the building of infra from the government. We don't invest directly in industries, but we invest in all the enabling infra of industries. It comes from the industrial park to, as I say, energy and transportation. At the same time also, we invest into data centers. Because when you talk about digitalization, you have to have places where you put your servers. And building data centers near the places where people will be using that data, it's important. So we are investing into all those sustaining area for the SMEs, so to enable them to lower their costs. Because the first challenges for the industry sector, the SMEs or normal companies, is how you lower your production costs, how you lower your transaction costs. So by building those enabling infrastructure, we are contributing to the financing and also lowering the risk for the entity who has to finance those companies. Actually, we have, let's say, all the reform or some what we call the legal and norms enabling environment into Africa. Now, what is remaining is how we enable the physical movement of people and goods. How do we make sure that this transaction cost, this logistic cost is low? If you take, for example, some example of product in Africa, basically if you take a product from a country A to a country B, the main part of the cost is logistics. So at Africa50, what we are doing to enable this cross-border transaction and the movement of people and goods is really investing, as I said, in a transportation infra, rail, roads, airports, but also working on joint border posts. Joint border posts is really an infra that enable goods not to stay for 2 or 3 days at the borders. So this is a way to enable the fast movement of goods and being able to have this free trade area at the African continental level. At the same time, we are also investing into logistics. Logistics to be able to keep the goods either near the road corridors, transportation corridors, and to do so, we engage with our country shareholder. Africa50, we are owned by African countries, Central Bank, and Pension Fund lately. We entered into our shareholding structure. So we are interacting with our shareholder country to be able to build those joint border posts or those cross-country infra, be it transmission line to be able to evacuate electricity from one country to another, bridges, or other type of logistic means. We also interact with regional entity. For example, we sign an MOU and we with the West African Monetary Unit, WAIMU, that will enable us together to build the joint border posts between different West African countries. And we are doing the same thing on the eastern side of Africa and on the southern side of Africa as well. I think this initiative is great, but as I said, until now, we know how to generate electricity. Generation, invest into generation. I talked earlier about the transmission part that we started. We will do the first transmission PPP in Kenya. The first one in Africa, it will be done in Kenya. What is missing is that our population is growing at a fast pace, good pace. And you have to provide electricity to the people who are not connected to the grid, either by building mini grids or building individual solar systems, renewable solar systems. So this initiative will enable these two last population to be addressed of the main grid. And Africa50, we have launched our DRE fund, which will be country or regional fund. We have a continental fund with AVCA, International Solar Alliance, and together also with the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, we set up the DRE Fund of Nigeria, which is a $500 million fund that will be investing into those systems. And this has been signed, and we are really working on implementing this first fund, and we look forward to multiply this type of initiatives in different African regions and countries. This type of events are very important and useful in Africa because it enables all the stakeholders to be together and discuss how we can help move the financing landscape and make it better. And exchanging with purely institutional investor, purely VC also entities, help us have a broader view of what is happening in the continent, but at the same time with exchanging, trying to find ways to connect everything that we are doing. So that if we take an African company or an African entrepreneur, from the beginning of the idea until he reached being an MNC at the African continental level, he will have the right partner in terms of financing alongside his journey. That is the important part of this type of event where we exchange and make sure that you are connecting and you are doing the right things.